6.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Game Industry Executive Summary. We're in a hurry. This is Casey. With us, as always, the dashing Dave. Fear!
Hey,
Fear!
There you
go.
The correct pronunciation.
And the businessman himself, the one and only Manu Rosier. Welcome on board, gentlemen. As always. I feel like I'm a bit too loud. We've been fiddling around with the sounds. We just discovered Dave had a microphone that he bought last week, obviously, but it wasn't the one that he was selecting from the program, so we were hearing him from the old microphone.
But now
we're in a different universe.
Yeah.
I have yet to open the news to check what we have, but before I do that, obviously, guys, what's going on? What have you been doing?
It's fall's rolling in here. It's been rainy every day, which is how fall operates here in the Netherlands. Also, while everyone always talks about the weather in the Netherlands, they do it a whole lot more this time of year, which is why I'm doing it right now.
I've been busy, like last week. I'm meeting a lot of people, and I've been playing the TCG Card Shop Simulator, which is a game of a simulator of a card shop. Like you had like supermarket simulator, and now it's a customizable card game, card shop simulator. TCG Card Shop Simulator.
Wow. I have to actually show this to people. Wait a second, is this the same one that has Pokemon and other stuff in it?
Yes. I don't know what will happen if they should be nervous because they have their own cards.
I'd imagine, yeah.
If we have learned anything the past week or so, is that Nintendo doesn't fuck around. But I love what I'm seeing.
That's a pleasing little thing. I'm into that.
But this is still early access, so right now the gameplay is quite limited. But they have a rollout plan of many features, and you see it's overwhelmingly positive.
I'm gonna be honest. I was gonna play some other stuff this week, but instead I played some more on 1800. And my city is really coming along.
Speaking of Anno, have you checked out Satisfactory?
Yeah, Satisfactory is real cool. I played a lot of that like 2 years ago, something like that, but I know it's just it's 1.0, which I would love to check out.
It's on my list now. I'm all in, I feel like, at this point. But I'm assuming it's not on consoles yet.
I don't think so. But 1.0 would be a time to do that. So let's see.
If we can do some quick research.
No, I don't think so.
No. Released on PC yesterday. This was probably a couple days ago. This was from this guide you'll follow. Okay, so there is no but I love how they've blended. I feel like it's part Anno, part like. Can you explain it to us?
Yeah, so it's an automation game. So this one sort of takes the form of a survival game. So you land on a beautiful, untouched alien world, and your job is to exploit it for all that it has. So you build your little mines, and you process your ores and into stuff, and then you process that stuff into cables and. The whole idea is that you take all these raw materials that you can collect and you process them into ever increasingly complex things to make this gigantic sprawling factory. So the idea is that it should all be running itself. So you have all these conveyor belts between things, and it seems like it's the sort of thing. It always seems like it should be easy. Should be easy to get things set up and making sense, and then you are just endlessly tweaking all your stuff. We're watching right now a pretty advanced base. Someday perhaps I'll get there.
I was watching a review by IGN today, and he was mentioning this thing that happened to me, obviously, with Anno specifically, which is, I'm just going to tweak this little thing, and then you're there for like a couple hours,
Yeah.
doing...
earlier today, like I was going to turn it off. I was going to do other shit, but then like my coal ran out in the Arctic, and you can't have your coal running out in the Arctic. But then, as it turned out, the coal ran out in the Arctic because there wasn't making enough champagne in Peach Petal City, which I was using to trade for the coal. And the reason I wasn't making enough champagne was because there wasn't enough glass coming from Lord Dragon City, so I needed it. It was a mess. Point being, it was a mess.
Amazing
Just
stuff.
to finish on Satisfactory, you can also say that it's a 3D version of Factorio. If you know Factorio.
I haven't played Factorio, but I've heard that.
Factorio, is that more top down or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Like top down, yeah.
Satisfactory. Are you always in first person, or do you ever like go back and forth between the views? Or
I think you can do third person like in a lot of games like that, but you know it's not the main way that you play.
Really nice game. I'm gonna absolutely check that out. It got me excited. Gentlemen, let's change gears here and move over to the news, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
That's fine. Okay then. Let's look at the highlights then. The top highlight: Assassin's Creed Shadows launch delayed to February 2025. Now there are multiple stories here. And we've spoken a bit about this in our private channel. But there is like, can you explain to me what happened with that game? Because there was something related to Star Wars, the Star Wars game. There was also other games coming out at the same time. What's going on?
Initially, Shadow was supposed to launch in November, only on the Epic Game Store and on the Ubisoft Store on PC. That was the initial idea. So they switched that. They are delaying the game to 14th of February, and they are making it day one launch on Steam. Because I believe they've learned that launching Star Wars Outlaws only on the Epic Game Store and not on Steam didn't bring the numbers they were expecting on PC, at least. There is also suspicion that they're supposed to have a press conference right after the reveal of the new Ghost of Tsushima game, which is also an open world game in Japan in the samurai time. So maybe they felt like they needed to polish the game slightly more. That's why they are giving themselves a few more months. I think this is probably, we have been discussing about Ubisoft in the past few weeks for various reasons. It's probably the tip of the iceberg. And there are also other news. The fact that the board is launching an investigation into the company to understand what's happening. I also saw that there is an activist investor that has gathered like about 10% of the shareholder and is recommending to basically sell the company to a private equity firms or third party. So there's kind of things are brewing. It's still owned by the Guillemot family, but it feels like it's getting heater and heater, warmer and warmer for them, and the share price keeps going down. I think they're at the lowest since 10 or 15 years now. Go to backs, yeah.
Good Lord, we're back to like 2012-ish.
Yeah,
which is before Gen 4, right?
And not counting inflation.
And when was Assassin's Creed 2? I mean, Assassin's Creed 1 was 2008, something like this. So this is long before the sort of peak of Assassin's Creed.
So I think the problem right now, yes, you're going to have the latest one when you type that. They don't seem to catch a break at this point, right? Nothing seems to be working very well in what they've released recently. And there's like, even now, Assassin's Creed, which is kind of their key title, their biggest IP, it's kind of feel like, well, the quality might be at risk. So that's just adding on the other issues they've had in recent times.
Yeah, I'd be very curious to know if the delay is as a result of just sort of broad-based quality, or if there was more work that was needed to be done to get it Steam Day 1, or both. Both is probably the best
So
guess.
here, not to, I mean, if we look at the crystal ball, and I know the Guillemot family has been around for a long time and part of that company, obviously, do we foresee any buyout, do you think, and especially in the form that Microsoft did, which is they buy out a company and then just like slash half of it in terms of personnel and save costs?
They had plenty of opportunities to sell Ubisoft, right? In the past few years, they've never did it. So unless they kind of exhausted of defending the company, I don't see why they would take that decision right now, because this is really their baby, right? And but if a putsch happen, I don't know how bad it can go. I mean, Tencent is a big shareholder also of Ubisoft, and they probably have something to say about this. I'm not sure if this would be, if it's been taken over by a private equity, they will probably slice it. They will sell the IP separately, probably trying to make money out of that. That's a possibility. But for now, I don't know, to be honest. It's just, and we're talking about it this time because that's kind of a big change in their portfolio. But there are like some troubles underneath that have been around for a while, I would say. Last time you heard the Division making a big, Ubisoft making a big splash, a big success, you think about the Division, you think about For Honor, you think about Rainbow Six Siege. But in recent year, outside of Assassin's Creed, I'm not sure there's been like overwhelming successes. So
no, I wouldn't. I think it's still Rainbow Six Siege and For Honor, basically. That's what's. I mean, Valhalla might well have been sort of the peak of Assassin's Creed. I think they're going to struggle to get back there.
Yeah.
And like you said, Ghost of Tsushima, when that came out, everyone's like, oh, it's finally the Japanese Assassin's Creed we were waiting for. Now that's already happened, so there we go.
And we can talk about the sequel of Ghost of Tsushima afterwards, but there is a risk that they will really become a everlasting competitor to Assassin's Creed, not just a one-shot competitor.
I think that's, in fact, perhaps likely.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, just because I'm a huge fan of Sucker Punch specifically as a studio, historically speaking, they worked on Sly, and they made, I believe, like 3 games. Then they moved over to Infamous. They did 3 games, and now they're in the Ghost of Tsushima era, or the Ghost era. And I wonder if it's one of those deals. I truly hope they don't do the Assassin's Creed route of like, oh, here's an open world with a bunch of things you need to just do that is not substantial in making the game more fun to play. But I guess time will tell. I mean, you built a lot of technology and all that stuff, so you want to, of course, cut down on costs and continue using that stuff.
And Sony is behind also, right? It's a PlayStation and PC exclusive.
Yeah.
So
yes.
Which, I mean, at this point is fast approaching the entirety of the market. There are Xboxes out there, definitely, but it's easier and easier for people to skip that if they feel like it. Like if it's on PC, then that's great. You're snagging a huge number of the people that might have bought it on Xbox.
Is it right to say that the days of 100% console exclusive is dead? Obviously, Astrobot is probably harder, but
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, Astrobot, obviously, the controller is so important to that. Don't make you I'm sure Sony could figure out a way to make DualSense. DualSense already works on the PC, so you could probably get its weird stuff to work on it too.
Does.
So yeah, I mean, it's just I've always been of the opinion that it might seem more complicated than this. If you got a thing, you just sell it to people, and PC is a great place to do that.
Speaking of PlayStation and Sony, we have this item that is number 2 on your highlights. PSN forced into Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. So, if I understand correctly, this was a couple days ago, or was it yesterday? They announced Horizon Zero Dawn Remastered. It's coming to PC, and they want to. They have the PSN login feature as part of that game. Is that what I'm hearing here, or reading rather?
Yeah.
Yep.
And there is a possibility for current owners of Horizon Zero Dawn on PC to upgrade to the remaster version for $10. But it means then they have to register or enlist on the PSN. There is something else below in the news about God of War getting kind of review bombed at launch because of God of War Ragnarök. It's launched with mixed review on Steam for the same reason. PlayStation Network account requirement. There was also a mod, a Nexus mod released that would remove the need to log into the PSN, but then the mod was removed. The mod removing was removed, and it is what it is. I wonder. It's unlikely that Sony will move back and not stop trying to implement this PSN stuff. I wonder for how long players will complain, or at some point it will be, it is what it is, and then let's move on because. And I hope also that Sony gets a lot of information from that, right? This is really valuable for them compared to the backlash they are getting. I think it's a trade-off between the two.
I mean, part of this entire setup is that you want to increase your user base and access to that user base in the form of the CRM and talking to your players. It was a big thing a couple of years ago to do that. I'm a proponent of it, especially if you have a big catalog. But I'm not sure today how much it matters anymore. It does absolutely matter, of course. But are there any other publishers that are doing that? I know Ubisoft did that as well. Do they still do that?
They make it easy to get around now. I feel like I'm not. Because I know that I do not have my password to my Ubisoft account, and I'm having trouble getting it back. But I'm still able to play through Steam. So I'm actually not positive what's going on there because I signed in and all those things a while ago. But I do believe there's some stuff going on behind the scenes that makes that a bit easier than logging in every time.
I think some publishers are releasing versions of the game that are Steam native, which means they don't need another launcher. Some companies also will have a silent run of their own launcher behind the scene without really popping up or anything. But yeah, I think when you play the Capcom games or the Square games, maybe you have to log in, but you are not forced to log into their own membership system. At the end, the thing is for the players, it's players complaining, but it doesn't change that much for them, right? It's just a one-time login, and I think the difference here is that they don't have a PlayStation console. They don't see why they should have a PlayStation membership to play PC games. I think that's the problem. But if PlayStation was called another brand and was not a console hardware seller, then players would probably not be so concerned. They would just say, oh, okay, well, this is the whatever publisher has its own way to track the players, and they just ask me to register, and I will register, and I'm fine. But I think because it's Sony and it's PlayStation, I think PC players probably have a negative perception of that.
Yeah, I think that's probably right, and also just because them releasing these exclusives on PC, these are big headlines. Everyone's really paying attention, and so that just turns the temperature up overall.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, gentlemen. I'm going to move on to the next item here. So I'm going to probably skip then God of War and Ghost of Tsushima and some of this, and we can go back, of course, if you feel like we do. Announced yesterday, Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver 1 and 2, Remastered, launches on PS5, PS4 on the 10th of December. Is this a PlayStation exclusive game?
I think so. Maybe.
The remaster seems to be like this. Yes, I've not checked.
Have any of you played these games before, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Loved them back in the day.
So
But
I've completely missed this entire franchise or set of games. Can you tell me what is Legacy of Kain?
Vampire.
yeah, you're a vampire. You got a sword, which is sort of an ethereal sword. Is 2 the one with the time travel and shit? I can't remember. If it is, that one was really cool. It had that kind of classic mix of puzzling and combat and platforming. The I guess we can call it the Zelda format, but with jump button. And it was just great.
Sorry, Dave. Is it closer to the Zelda games or to the God of War games back in the day?
I would say Zelda.
Zelda.
Because you got dungeons. That for me is a big difference between Zelda and God of War, and it's not so hardcore narrative. I'm pretty sure it's pretty much linear from what I remember, but feels more like Zelda, I think. But also, they're also doing Dynasty Warriors. Is Dynasty Warriors on the list? Can we talk about Dynasty Warriors?
I think every time I see something about Dynasty Warriors, I just skip because it's not my cup of tea. But please enlighten us. What should we know about Dynasty Warriors?
They haven't done Dynasty Warriors since what was it, 9 or 10, which
Really?
was a real miss.
Wait a
of
second.
An attempt to go back to open world.
I think I'm mixing Dynasty Warriors. Which one is the giant enemy crab? Is that Dynasty Warriors?
No, that was a one-off, wasn't it?
No. It is part of a big franchise, right?
Well, let's see.
Good lord. If you remember the Ken Kutaragi meme.
No, it was Genji Days of the Blade is what it was.
Really? The giant enemy crab is not Dynasty Warriors. Okay,
Dynasty
I'm
Warriors
sorry
does
about
not
this.
have a giant enemy crab. If you go back to classical Chinese literature, this one does not have a giant enemy crab. Though I guess I don't know if Journey to the West does. That would be a better candidate, maybe.
Tell us about Dynasty Warriors then.
It's the Romance of Three Kingdoms. We've got Wu Wei and Shu. We've seen these depicted in all kinds of different video games. The Warring Kingdoms period with all the great heroes such as Guan Yu and Lu Bu and Cao Cao and all those dudes. And Dynasty Warriors could put you in their shoes and you just kind of run nuts through huge armies, slashing dozens of players apart, dozens of enemies apart with a single blow, and you're the hero worth 1,000. The whole Mushu genre comes out of Dynasty Warriors. But I think crucially, the entire point of these games is that you kill a bunch of dudes. And we didn't really have one on the last generation. We just had, or at least native to the last generation. So one thing that technology is good is putting more dudes on the screen. And so we're really excited about what modern technology can do vis-a-vis number of dudes. And this looks great.
It does look awesome. I guess I should probably give it a try once it's out then.
It is just that the hanging out, the most you just go, man. You just do it. It's the game that they were always playing in the OC. Whenever you saw them playing video games in the OC, it was Dynasty Warriors 3, I think.
Manu, any comments about Dynasty Warriors, or do you want me to move on to the next item?
No, just for Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver is like a spin-off of the original because there were 3 games, Legacy of Kain games, and then 2 Soul Reaver. So it's, I think, 5 title franchise in total. And I think it's interesting, to always trying to understand, out of 3 people, 2 of them had heard about that game, had played that game before. But at some point you wonder, is this IP still relevant? Is the gameplay still relevant? Is it better to go for a remaster, a remake, or a reboot? And it's another business case of kind of leveraging dormant IPs, which is a topic really
I was just about to ask who owns this IP. Silicon Knights and Crystal Dynamics. I didn't know they were involved.
Interesting.
Okay.
Back
in
then.
Eidos, yeah. But by the way, there has been multiple games under this franchise, not just 2.
5.
Yeah, and there's the Kain.
Yep,
Blood Omen. You play Kain in that one.
Yeah.
that kind of thing.
Wow, 96.
Yeah.
Okay, so for whatever reason, I completely have missed this entire franchise. I guess.
Oh, it was Amy Hennig. I didn't realize that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
See,
Wow.
small world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of Amy, I mean, I had the pleasure to meet her once back when E3 was a real thing.
Oh, E3.
Yes, that was a lucky coincidence. But I wonder what she's up to these days. Maybe a topic for another day. I'll move on to the next item on the list. NBA 2K25 will remove VC packs in South Korea due to mandatory disclosure of probability information. So VC packs, is that like a loot box?
Yeah. Yeah. That's the. I was reading about that. I saw that Blizzard revealed Overwatch loot box probabilities 7 years ago.
Oh.
And then since then they moved away from the loot box. So it's interesting that in this case they prefer not to reveal that and just lose some business in Korea, which is potentially quite low for an NBA game. But yeah, we hear on a regular basis about gambling, about loot boxes. This is borderline in many countries. There's been precedent also, I think, in the Netherlands with FIFA, also in Belgium, where you cannot buy packs anymore, if I remember correctly.
I was gonna just ask, like, is it completely banned, or did they put any like requirements, or?
No, it's banned. But I think all of this will only really matter the day maybe the US take that kind of actions for the consumers and for the players. But until then, if these are not major markets, it will probably not move the needle.
If it was
so what do they do?
If it was the whole EU, I think it would probably count as well. Not even the whole EU.
Yeah,
well, not for
yes.
Yeah, especially, I mean, unless it's NBA. If it's NBA, it's America.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. I'm not going to go dig deeper into it, but it seems like maybe it doesn't matter that much for us in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Don't Nod is reassessing its portfolio after Jusant and Banishers' Ghost of New Eden sold below expectations. So,
well, I did not know what these games were. So
okay,
yeah.
Jusant is the climbing game, right?
Yes, good.
That is, it's a really cool game.
Yeah,
I can show some of the gameplay while we're talking about it.
They had good reviews and like good hype, even if it feels more like an indie game than anything else.
Yep.
And in this case, you always wonder: are the numbers in absolute not good enough, or are they just too low compared to a forecast that was too ambitious? You know, it's the same discussion we had last time about Square, I believe. Square Enix,
that's right.
Like disappointing. Yeah, but versus what is it disappointing? That's always a question you have to wonder. But yeah, this game feedback was really good about it. But yeah, maybe it's not an Astrobot, right? It's a specific gameplay, probably a bit more niche, and it's difficult to make it a huge success. And then the other one, Banishers Ghost of New Eden, I think it wasn't bad, but it was also probably not mass market enough to make a difference.
I haven't seen that one.
And Don't Nod,
now that I think of it.
And Don't Nod is the developer of all the narrative games, right?
Yeah, well, they did Life is Strange, but I don't think that they didn't someone else take it over at some point.
Yeah, that's true. But they did Vampire.
Yeah.
Also in 2018. From the outside, I'm not sure about what's their portfolio strategy. Feels like they are doing different games, but it almost feels like a collection of indie games. And I don't know if they where do they want to go, but apparently now they have to go somewhere because they cannot continue releasing games and facing some challenges when it comes to the revenue.
So when I was looking at this the Banishers trailer, there was Don't Nod, and there was Focus Entertainment.
Yeah. Focus
Is
is publisher.
Focus is the publisher.
Yeah, of
And
Banishers.
Don't Nod is the developer?
Yes. Don't Nod is a developer. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And for example, Life is Strange was published by Square.
Now I see.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this, gentlemen, before I move on?
I have many thoughts, but I'm not going to say any of them.
Okay. Next item on the list, Valve is testing ARM64 support for popular games. That's interesting. What can we learn from this?
Well, ARM, that's mobile, right? Or like that's a mobile first processor, right?
Yeah. It means maybe more Steam Decks.
Yeah, maybe a thinner Steam Deck, maybe.
Yeah.
A Switch scale Steam Deck. I mean, I still haven't bought a Steam Deck, but I love them. I love them from afar. I should probably just go ahead and buy one. I don't know why I haven't. But maybe it's because I was waiting for Valve to test ARM processors. And I mean, but also like it's bigger than a Switch, right? The Switch is, I feel like, right on the edge of what is good to carry around. And the Steam Deck is good to carry around in a bag. And so if they're messing around with ways to get that smaller and ways to get that into small bags, pockets, and that kind of thing, that'd be cool. Big pockets.
I think to put things into perspective, remember the discussion about the failure of selling premium games on Apple, on the iPhone? Because a phone without like physical controller is not the same as a Steam Deck, or like maybe with this processor they could release smaller devices, which is a problem, like more autonomy, smaller, lighter, but you can still run a good proportion of your Steam library on that, That's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, like, so many of the games that I want to play on Steam Deck, like, do not require a lot of processing. Like, I'll play that Nine Souls, Metroidvania, like, all these, like, little indie things that come out on Steam first. So I don't need a ton of horsepower, and I would love. I think also it's a branding thing, right? People don't want to buy premium games on Apple because it's coming from the wrong direction. It's people just don't associate with that. But if it's Steam Deck, then that's already in your mind, and it has your Steam library, and you're ready to go, basically. And I could see that working real well. Again, you need the buttons and you need the sticks. And like not detachable. Well, not, I don't know. Detachable maybe, but it's got to come as a unit,
And imagine they launch a Steam Deck Lite for $200, $250.
Yeah,
that's another discussion, right?
I would definitely buy that.
Audience, yeah, absolutely, and something you can easily transport, have in the plane and things like that. Because the Steam Deck is fine, but it's still very heavy. Takes a lot of space, but if you can shrink that a little bit, have it the size of a Switch Lite, for example.
Yeah, I would be super into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good stuff, gentlemen. While you were speaking about the Steam Deck, I was looking at the next item and was just confused because I feel like some writers should probably take note. Dave, I need your writing expertise here on this one.
I'm here. I have my fingers.
Please, isn't this a terrible what do you want to call it? Headline?
Yeah, Dead by Daylight.
I didn't even understand what this means. Yeah, until I went down.
Does it mean they
seems
bought
like
it?
Yeah.
That would be my first guess, but you're right. It is not clear from the headline. Headlines are funny because
Eurogamer, fix your headlines, goddammit.
Well, in that case, they're English, and so maybe hooks is like more commonly used. And I say it like it's a different dialect. So I feel like I can't criticize it as much, though we are. From my perspective, it is not totally clear. Also, you just there's only 2 words in that are not proper nouns, which is always going to be confusing.
Dave, I'm going to start a new podcast with you, and we just go through headlines and just shit on them.
The copy guys.
Yes. sorry to the listeners here. I'm gonna go to Manu here. So Manu, Behaviour Interactive basically bought Darkest Dungeon developer. Anything we need to learn here apart from the obvious?
I think it's good. Feels good. It's like a mid-size publisher, developer. I don't know. I feel better than if it was Embracer or Microsoft at this point. But we'll see. I think Darkest Dungeon is interesting because the first one was very successful. The second one, they changed slightly the formula. Some people were not on board with that, and I'm not sure it performed as well because they changed too quickly the formula, basically the gameplay. I think that's a discussion we can also have when we look at the numbers from Frostpunk 2, because the gameplay has been significantly changed from Frostpunk 1.
Mm-hmm.
I think the question is always, for how many games do you do the same? Or do you do little improvement? Or do you do major gameplay changes? And do you still set it as a number, like a numbered series? Or do you name it like a spin-off when you change the gameplay so much? I think that's interesting branding and IP discussion also, which is not directly related to the initial news, but I think it's interesting.
Yeah, it's interesting related to Don't Nod too. Actually, a similar thing that we were talking about there. That they had a huge success that brought their name out in a way that you didn't always that it wasn't out before. And then they started to make. Then they kept making an eclectic mix of things, and I don't think necessarily capitalized on that recognition.
Yeah, I was looking at their title. So Life is Strange 2. Then they called Tell Me Why, and then Twin Mirror, and then Lost Records, Bloom and Rage. And I like, if you don't know, it's like you have to acquire awareness again about a new game, which is basically in the same kind of universe, right? These are the same type of game. It's just a different name, and there is no connection between them. So for the players, that's actually the same studio that did Life is Strange. I like that game, but now they are doing a game called Twin Mirrors, and it doesn't feel like it's related in any way. Why it may be the same gameplay, or Tell Me Why. I know it was the same kind of story-driven adventure. So yeah, that's what I have to say. And then we can shift to the next one, which is also related to an IP, right?
All right.
Yes,
it's the IP show.
I was actually gonna skip that one and go to the next one because it was related to closures and yeah. Let's talk about that one and we'll go back to IP. So, Merge Games closing down after 15 years, and if my understanding is correct here, it's a publisher that, among other things, they published Dead Cells. I was unaware of that one. Darkest Dungeon and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge game. They were acquired by Maximum Entertainment. Is that correct? And then now they're shut down.
Yeah. I'm just checking if we have Dead Cells 2 on Steam and who is the publisher, but I can't find Dead Cells 2 yet.
Dead Cells 2? Does that exist?
Is there a Dead Cells 2?
Oh, no. Oh, I don't know. Sorry, it's a Slay the Spire. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Dead Cells, they are. The studio that took over making their DLC is making a Prince of Persia kind of mashup. But no, there's no 2.
Here's what's worrying, by the way, on this trend of these bigger companies buying up smaller ones. And then now, obviously, we're just seeing a lot of these get shut down. I wonder how long it's been since Merge was purchased by Maximum. I'll try and Google that.
Mm-hmm.
How long? We've been seeing this now. Obviously, Embracer and many others. How long will we continue to see this, you think?
Right. Well, so long as the modern, the foundations of modern capitalism continue. I think that we saw it a lot, in the sort of post-COVID and post-COVID era, just because there was a lot of free cash floating around with the low interest rates, and it slows down when the interest rates rise, but it never goes away. I think at the end of the day, the people in charge of these things, and the people who own them, sometimes they want to have a huge amount of money, and then they do.
What's that? What's money?
Yeah.
I mean, historically speaking, this is completely new to we've never seen this before 2017-ish. Would that be accurate to say?
What? Companies buying other companies?
On this scale. Like the mergers, acquisitions of IPs and companies, and then now we're seeing the slaughter of them, more or less.
Yeah.
It's like a restart.
It definitely kicked up. That's definitely true.
I'm trying to look here while you were speaking. I'm trying to look for when did the acquisition happen between Merge and Maximum? It seems like that information is hard to find. Okay, I'll move on to the next item so we don't dwell. We were speaking about IPs. And Manu, you had some thoughts there. Last week we spoke about this as well. Final Fantasy and and we were speaking about the staleness after 9, 10-ish. Final Fantasy 10, 9. And they tried to do some weird choices. 13 was a very weird era of Final Fantasy. What was the other one called? The one that kind of made it finally, but it took 10 years. 13 Verses or something like that. But what do you guys want to say about this?
I think it's a good summary of what has been happening. First, the high forecast expectations, so disappointment following that, and then they talk about platform exclusivity, right? Because it was released on PlayStation and PC only, and is it still the way to go in the future? And with such an old IP, you have the burden of your fans, right? You have to give them something they want, but at the same time, you might struggle to. Yes, it's not me.
No, I was gonna say, Dave. Thank you.
And sorry, you. And then how do you acquire new fans without changing your formula too much? Because then your formula might feel aged for the new audience, but this is what the old audience want. So how do you navigate through that? Like refresh your brand, refresh your gameplay, keeping your older fans, but at the same time acquire new fans. So maybe this series needs to be modern, more modern in the gameplays, the business model, go to market. I don't know, but at some point you will run out of your old fans, right? So
if I may add a thing here, so Final Fantasy VII Remake. I love that game. I played it from start to finish. I actually finished it. I was very excited for it. I was actually very excited for Rebirth as well. But it didn't, for whatever reason, I dropped off. There was a lot of these, I'm not sure if you want to call them Ubisoft mechanics of here's a map, go do stuff, which was completely unnecessary for that type of game.
I was excited for Rebirth, and then I just didn't play basically
at all.
Yeah, which I think happened to a lot of people. It's just tough to maintain that excitement, in our busy lives.
Thing, Dave.
Yes.
Sorry for cutting you off, man. I'll add one more thing, which is they're trying to stretch something that doesn't need to be stretched.
Yeah.
Especially to what Manu is saying. Okay, if we're catering to the old fans of Final Fantasy who are in their 40s today, or late 30s. I'm trying to stay in 30. But for those who are in their late 30s, 40s, who grew up with Final Fantasy, they don't have the time anymore. They have the money, but they don't have the time.
Yeah.
And now, in your case, you didn't buy it. I bought it. But what I'm trying to get to, and I paid premium because obviously I got the deluxe edition. But for whatever reason, they're not understanding, hey, these people don't have time. Give them, just give them the good stuff. Any other, things you want to sprinkle on top, put it on the side, let them discover it if they want to, but let them focus on having a good time. I feel like that's something that a lot of developers are missing, and especially these companies who are looking into the left and right and adding these. I'll call it content for now, even though I don't see it as content, but filler. Let's say that is not moving the needle for us.
Yeah, it's such a tough balance because you want stuff to do in your game, and the very things that we criticize all the time can often become successful for reasons that can be kind of hard to pin down. Ghost of Tsushima is, I think, a really good example of that. That formally, there's a lot of it that just looks like the kind of shit that we would say, that's just Ubisoft filler. It was good and it worked. Okay, you're making a lot of faces.
I'm sorry, Dave, but isn't it freaking annoying? Okay. How many games do I need where there's a bullshit tower that I need to activate for whatever bullshit reason to open up part of the map?
Love it.
How many? Like 14, 26.
I'm really sorry here, but it's like, why? It doesn't add anything. It doesn't make the game more fun.
I think one of the things that it does, and the reason that it succeeded, why it succeeded in Assassin's Creed and then moved on to Far Cry, is that it's a logical way to get a different kind of gameplay into your open world game. So Assassin's Creed's got a lot of stabbing people, a lot of sneaking around, and Far Cry's got a lot of shooting people. And in both of these cases, the towers are platforming puzzles, and it can be difficult. It's a really easy way to get that right into your game in a way that feels relevant to the rest of the game, in a way that feels consistent, and honestly, in a way that people are familiar with. And so I think that's a big reason why they have persisted, is because it provides that kind of variety.
I am sorry, Manu. I'll let you continue. I'm smiling right now, but inside I'm freaking angry as hell now because I'm just thinking about all the games that have this mechanic. And I was like, God damn it! Sorry, Manu. Continue, please.
How do you feel about bonfires?
When we say bonfire, are we talking about Dark Souls now, or?
I'm talking about all the games that are now released with bonfires. That serves a respawn.
I feel like we should define So bonfire is a respawn point where also enemies respawn, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Because why are tower bad, but maybe bonfires are not that bad? Or is everything bad? Or is it like we don't want respawn points? Or we want to explore and we don't want the map to pop up to open because we have been at a specific point? That's just...
So I will say this. I would count bonfires as that as well. Is there another way of doing it in the form of like you going back to that location or being closer to that location? I'm not sure. Somebody smarter than me has
like a big bonfire.
Yes. Well, okay. As soon as we talk about open world games, and of course, like traveling in between locations, does it become fun or not? And that's why that's another problem where games all of them are trying to be open world for whatever reason. It's not adding value to the player. A good example of games that have solved this, like the semi-open world, if we're talking about the Tomb Raider 2016-ish, the modern Tomb Raider.
They did good. It's like a wide corridor is how I like to imagine games.
Thank you, Dave. Another one of the best at it, Batman Arkham Asylum. That's another example. You had to actually physically travel between the locations. There was no bonfire, but the location and the area had meaning. There's a reason to why you want to go back and forth.
I think the thing is that Metroidvanias and open worlds are sort of joined at the hip. Like if you look back to like Ocarina of Time, you can call Ocarina of Time a Metroidvania. That would be a reasonable definition, I think.
It's not a Zelda type.
Yeah, it does feel kind of odd to compare a Zelda game to that. But anyway, it's a similar thing. And I think an open world game that is a Metroidvania that involves unlocking things based on that kind of thing, on abilities and that sort, is really different than one where you just kind of drive around. Even the early GTAs had more of a mechanic of gradually unlocking new areas.
You had to. Do I understand? Do you remember in GTA you had to own a location to be able to spawn there? Was that correct, or am I?
Yeah, well, so in 3, you would get a safe house on each island, and you would unlock the islands as far as the story goes. In Vice City, maybe you could spawn at places you own. Maybe that's the same as San Andreas too. No, in San Andreas,
or if you die,
you just go to the hospital. You just go to the hospital.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Yeah.
You exit from the closest hospital, probably.
Yeah. I don't think I ended my thought there, but it doesn't matter.
Sorry about that. Apologies.
No, I don't think there was an end to that thought.
Okay. I guess what we're trying to say is simple. Stop doing these repetitive, copy paste.
Is that what we're saying? That's what you're saying. Because
I think
Manu was saying, what are your thoughts on bonfires? I'm fine with bonfires.
We started by talking. We started by talking about the tower thing that opens up the map and all that shit.
I think it's good. I think copying and pasting. Well, it's okay to copy, but maybe not to paste. Is that what I'm saying? You can copy. You just got to make it your own. You have to. It has to work in your game. And I think that's the Ghost of Tsushima example. That it does so many things that we criticize in other games, but it worked, and you like it.
What, Manu?
2 things. Elden Ring. You can also find the maps that will open the region, and you will see the region completely, right? So this is similar, right? It's not better, if you ask me from a mechanic standpoint. And then the other thing, the respawn. It's not about respawning; it's about fast travel. Because the reason why you have all these respawn points, that's so that you don't have to travel again from point A to point B, right? And there's a game that is trying to do something else. It's a Dragon Dogma 2, which I put a link here in the chat. There's been some controversy about that. The concept was we're gonna make the journey so amazing that you won't want to fast travel. But then they came and they say, well, actually, if you want to fast travel, you can buy crystals with real money.
The original Horizon had a mechanic like that. That busts it. I still think the best fast travel system I have seen was in Elder Scrolls Morrowind, which was weird bugs. I mean, I think that's for me. Other games have done something similar, but fast travel, which is based around stations, you have to go to a station to fast travel to another station. Mm-hmm. For me, that's the best compromise. That it still makes the world feel real and grounded. It can create areas which are difficult to get to and difficult to get back from, but it does still allow for kind of player agency and the ability to get around. I think everyone should just be doing that.
Maybe it's one of those things where, so the bonfire is essential because it helps you cut down on time and all that stuff and gets you to the place that you want to be in much faster. Mm. But the tower thing is just filler. Especially if we look at Final Fantasy, because it doesn't open up the map or anything. It just activates something to get you stuff, but that's it. Discussion?
Good discussion.
Good discussion.
To say, about gameplay, about how you make sure there is no friction for your player, right? Because in the end, it's about friction. Nobody likes to do chores in games. Yeah. And this can be. So make it exciting or just allow the player to skip it.
Okay. Thank you. Let's move on to the next item here. Meta. I thought Meta was being killed, but I guess I'm wrong here.
What?
Meta reveals Quest 3S headset and Orion AR glasses. Oh, but it's just a prototype. So this is the similar one to the Microsoft thing, right?
Vision Pro looks closest to Vision Pro.
Okay.
So, Meta bought Oculus, too, if you remember.
Facebook bought Oculus, and then it became Meta.
Meta is Meta. Meta is not going anywhere, okay? The metaverse of Meta is nothing is happening.
It's got legs, man. It has legs. Not in the sense that it's going anywhere, but in the sense they learned how to render legs.
Yes. And So there was Quest 2. Quest 2 was good. Quest 3 was better, but more expensive. And now they are releasing the 3S, which has some of the hardware of the 2, some of the features of the 3. They are going the way of iPhone somehow. You can have the S version with a higher number, but it is basically closer to the previous number in terms of hardware. So I think that's the idea. It's gonna cost, I think, 300, 250. So it's good when you lower your entry barrier, right? You allow more people to jump in because it's cheaper. I don't think it's gonna become mass market and everybody's gonna buy one because you still have the software issue with the VR. But it feels like they have a strategy, and so far it's not that bad, right? What they've been doing, they sold quite well. I think the Quest 3, I think it's really a great improvement on top of the 2. And I think they are keeping improving, and we will see where it goes. But I think this is I would say a sustainable niche in the market, but still a niche. But I think it's sustainable now.
Yeah, and I think I would agree with that, especially because it has Beat Saber, and Beat Saber is great. But I think with a lot of these augmented reality things, Vision Pro among them, the real prize is enterprise. That there's a lot of stuff to be done there, and that people are getting more interested in that gradually, and that's going to continue to be a really big part of the market. Whenever you see something with like a colossal price tag attached to it, that's often the missing piece of the puzzle.
By the way, I was just looking through the story, and there's a video for a Ray-Ban Meta smart glasses.
Yeah,
AR,
I found that a bit.
Is that a real thing, or?
Yeah, no, they exist. You can buy them.
Yeah, you're probably being filmed already without knowing.
Of course.
Yep. You're being filmed right now, but I hope you are aware of that.
Yes. Thank you. I'll move over to the next item on the list. No rumors today, but we have a lot of numbers.
All the rumors of the beginning of the week became news.
True.
Yeah.
In the past 2 days.
Okay, you don't have a link here, but Black Myth Wukong tops 20 million sales on Steam.
That's not.
Oh, this is
I got to play that thing.
This is Steam only 20 million, by the way.
Yeah,
almost $1 billion.
Yeah, I'm curious on how it's done on PlayStation. If anyone has any estimates on that.
But okay, so what can we learn about Wukong, Manu? I mean, we put out a piece. Dave obviously put it together with our Asia expert, Vivi, and she wrote an article about how the Chinese government is looking at AAA games and investing further and helping maybe cultivate the AAA ecosystem in China. But obviously, Wukong is impressive for being the first. I'm not sure if it is the first. Correct me if I'm wrong. But one of the first, AAA games that come out of that country, from that region. That wrong of me to say, because obviously Japan has been putting them out for a long time. But from China specifically, then that is resonating worldwide in many ways, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
I think it's cool that you can find $1 billion somewhere.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
I suspect that it's part of it is incremental to our industry. It's not just a cannibalization from other titles, because we know a lot of these players that probably have not played so many games before because they come mainly from China. So that's my guess, right? But I might be wrong. But I think that this is just increasing the market. And it also means now there are more people on Steam that we've seen anyway. Steam is like 38 million. Like third time this year they break their lifetime record. So we have no more people on Steam. So organically it means more player and probably increase of the global revenue of the video game market. And so I think it's a good news, right? I think it also means that you're probably gonna have more Chinese mythology games coming very quickly, or like stories that resonate to that audience. And I still right now it's a win but it's still like probably 80% of the sales have happened with Chinese players. So it's not like a huge success in the West, but
Yeah,
Sorry.
maybe
but
they
it
can
is a
improve.
success. My guess is from the numbers that I've seen that like they would have paid for their development budget from Western sales, which I think is an
Yeah,
important note as well. So it is a success in the West. It's
yeah,
just not a earth-shattering success like it is
absolutely.
in China.
Sorry, can you repeat again? How big is how big of a percentage
I think it was
of
around
sales?
20% was in the West. I think.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, that's a
Mhm.
huge difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought it was at least like 50-50.
No, not at all. No. It
So
was worse at launch. It was even more in China. I think there were some people that looked at the Steam reviews, Steam comments, and that to have a proxy. But we are closer to 20% than 50% for the Western world share. Yeah.
this is interesting. So I wonder if we'll see more companies trying to target China specifically with their games.
If they
Yeah,
can release it
we're
there.
definitely
Yeah.
going to see a lot of them try and fail. I think
Yeah.
Okay.
that'll be fun.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Dave.
Yeah,
Okay. Do I skip the next item?
Yeah.
Frostpunk 2.
Yeah.
Moving on to the third item then. On the numbers, Elder Scrolls Online has reportedly earned $15 million in a monthly revenue for over a decade. Is that a good thing? Isn't that low?
50, that's pretty good. 50 or 15.
15, 1-5.
That's still, I mean, that's way the hell above any reasonable burn rate, I think. So
Yeah.
that's good. I do think, I mean, so then you're making 150, 180 million a year. That's good. I think we
Yeah.
call that good. I think I read
Mhm.
somewhere that it was like one of Microsoft's most profitable games aside from Minecraft.
It's a bit of a sleeper for me,
Yeah.
It's there somewhere, but you don't talk about it every week. It keeps on working, and
Mm-hmm.
I think it would be interesting to benchmark that to Final Fantasy 14. I don't have the numbers, but I think it's a good proxy to see what they achieve on that side. So yeah, I think that's you take them right, 200 million, 180 million per year. You can
Yep.
use that in your P&L.
I
Yeah.
couldn't help myself and Googled World of Warcraft. I'm not sure if this is accurate or not. Reportedly, they've generated 10 billion. No, to be accurate, 9.2 billion in revenue over the I don't know how many years, but that feels
20,
low as. Yeah, that
15,
feels. Sorry, come
Yeah.
again?
15, 20
Yeah.
year.
Yeah, something like that.
No, I mean
Mhm.
it's good.
Is that okay?
Especially because video games, these billion-selling games are a modern. They occurred after World of Warcraft was out.
Yeah.
Was already released. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, that's good.
Okay.
It's similar. It's a larger scale than Elder Scrolls, but it's similar in that it's not a earth-shattering Fortnite sort of thing. But it makes a ton of money, and everyone feels really good about that.
Cool. I'll move on to the last item on the numbers. Pokemon Sleep surpasses 120 million in revenue. What's Pokemon Sleep?
It is a sleep tracking app.
Yes.
Can you please enlighten me because I'm super confused about this? A sleep tracking app by Nintendo?
Yep. Well, I don't know. It's not like Nintendo developed. I think not. I think Niantic actually might develop it.
Yeah, let me check. I don't know. I just put the news. I was waiting for you to
But I'm
be
confused. Like,
surprised,
what are you doing?
confused. What
Do
are
you
you talking
sleep when you
about?
play the
No, the
game?
developer's select button. It's a sleep tracking. The people have these sleep tracking apps to make sure they're sleeping well, which I don't understand how that works because if the way for me to sleep better is for me to not spend a whole lot of time thinking about whether or not I'm sleeping well. So I'm not going near this with a 10-foot pole, even though I do want the Pokemon Go Snorlax with a sleep cap on. I will not be getting it. But yeah, that's what it is.
I'm still confused. Am I too old or what's going on here? Manu,
I don't know. I'm just
can you make
googling.
sense of this?
I think I think you're around the target market. We're right in the age group where people are starting to track their sleep and that this is a thing that people do with smartwatches and with phones and you track your sleep, and this one is one that attaches some pokey rewards to it, basically.
If you want to be good, you need to sleep. To sleep
I
well.
guess so.
Yeah.
Whatever
If you
puts you
want-
to sleep.
Yeah, I mean, we know there is this gamification about everything, right? And now you see the Fit app, the Google Samsung Health, and all these apps where you kind of trying to reach milestone to get awards if you are making some stepping so many times per day. So why not, right? Why not one when there is Pokemon instead of something more boring? I think it's probably one of the first time you have like a well-known IPs that just trying to get engagement from a health app, right?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if this is targeted towards kids or grown-ups, or
My guess is it's more grown-ups than kids. Anyone could use it. But my kids sleep because they are not yet burdened by the cares of the world.
yes.
But when you sleep, you don't need to have your phone or anything, right? It's just it's not gonna. It doesn't mean that you have to put your phone in your bedroom or anything. But it's more like and you can connect it to your smartwatch.
No, you do
with
put it in your bedroom. You either connect it to your. I'm pretty sure, at least how many of these things work, is you either connect it with your smartwatch and it kind of analyzes you from there, or you have your phone in your bedroom and it's responding to figuring out if you're getting up or making noise or stuff like that. So you do need your phone for it. Otherwise, you could cheat. You can't cheat at sleep.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, I'm so happy that I have you to explain this stuff to me. It's been really fun talking to you today. Any closing statements about any of what we talked about today? Any learnings?
Yes.
I don't know.
I've not played Wukong yet, but are there towers in Wukong? Are there towers or bonfires in Wukong? That's the question.
Has to be a bonfire.
Maybe by next week, Manu, we should both play Wukong.
Yes.
Maybe we should do it. Oh, wait, I'm not here next week. By the week after, we should both play Wukong. All right?
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you so much for today. Really awesome discussion. Love it. I feel like I want to bring in some people to kind of make sense out of things for me specifically. So I'm really happy that I have you here. For those who are listening, obviously, we have a really awesome newsletter, Games Industry Executive Summary. Go to mightydiamonds.substack.com, and then our website is mighty.diamonds. Dave there, Manu Rosier, you can find them on LinkedIn. Do all the stuff, do the likes and everything that is required because it's important to us for whatever reason. YouTube is still on the list. I'm just too busy and lazy to do it, but it is going to happen. And with that, thank you so much for listening in, and we'll see you on the next one.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Yeah.
Goodbye.